Just a few minutes after the Buddy Hield was completed by the Philadelphia 76ers, it was clear they were not done doing business. We got another Woj bomb, this one with a little less noise and a little less excitement attached to it, but something clear that there is something bigger planned. And what the initial Woj trade that was reported was that the 76ers are trading Danuel House and a 2024 second-round pick via the Knicks to the Pistons, sources tell ESPN. So as I waited on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what the exact outlook, who was coming in return, in the end it does feel that this is a salary move, something to lay the groundwork for another deal. And Woj followed this tweet up with, the move gives the Sixers the salary cap cushion to sign buyout players post-deadline, including the possibility of Charlotte's Kyle Lowry should he become available in a contract buyout. So we've talked about Kyle Lowry a good bit on here. I know I'm personally not the biggest Kyle Lowry guy. That there was a point in time in which I would love to have him representing the Philadelphia 76ers and playing a key role, but that was many years ago at this point. And the version of Kyle Lowry that I believe currently exists, I don't think is that much of a step up from what the Sixers are getting in Patrick Beverley, who frankly I think has played very well this year and well above my expectations for him. So I'm not rushing to bring Kyle Lowry in the same way, but this flexibility is still a great thing in what they could do and how the rest of the trade deadline plays out. To look a little bit into some of the specifics of the salary here, that the Philadelphia 76ers saved $18 million by trading Danuel House. This coming from Yazzie Goslin of Hoops Hype. He does some awesome work over there, but they break down $4.3 million off the payroll, $2.5 million off the luxury tax penalty eliminated, and $11.2 million gained from the league-wide tax distribution. The $11.2 million projected assumes that the Lakers duck the tax, just $1.3 million over. So that how that kind of works there is the luxury tax and how it evens out with the higher paying teams and lower paying teams. Why the NBA is not a hard cap is essentially teams that are over pay a little bit of penalty that gets kicked back to the teams that do not. That's where the Sixers are playing this balance, and why ducking the tax has been important to them in past years when you think back to the Matisse Thybulle trade and situations like that. Before this, specifically with the Sixers, this opens up some possibilities to get more deals done. Now, I also would like to point out, beyond this, that the Philadelphia 76ers are now $2.7 million below the luxury tax after their two trades this morning. They have 2 open roster spots and enough flexibility to pursue a player in the buyout market like Kyle Lowry. They also create $5.4 million and $4.3 million trade exceptions. Now, those trade exceptions are something I do think that are worth noting, specifically because one of those is something that Andre Drummond would fit quite comfortably under. And Andre Drummond is a guy that we've talked about quite a bit on here. After these past couple games, Sixers losing 7 of their past 8, it's quite clear that there needs to be an upgrade at the big man position, that Paul Reed has not taken the next steps in the way that myself and a lot of people have hoped, and Mo Bamba is among one of the most frustrating basketball players I've ever watched. For a guy that is real deal 7 foot with an 8'10" wingspan, the fact that he has difficulty rebounding the basketball is so frustrating to watch, and it's even more, I guess, frustrating because there's moments where you absolutely see it with Mo, where he looks locked in, he has his motivation, everything's clicking, and it's the exact version of what you want a backup center to look like, what really you want any level of center to look like, but it just comes and goes far too often. And with Paul Reed, we know that it is the controlled chaos that sometimes is not as controlled as it needs to be, and that would the good and the bad you have to live with Paul. So bringing a guy like Andre Drummond would stabilize things. He would be a better rim protector than either of these guys and a better rebounder than any of these guys. That's a huge point of concern for me with the Sixers team is the rebounding that is going on, the lack of ability to just lock down opposing possessions and limit them to one shot. That's a big deal, and Andre Drummond did an excellent job of that even at this point in his career. We do remember him from his time in Philadelphia quite fondly. I do want to pump my brakes slightly and say that I think we remember the best version of Andre Drummond, that there are some good and bad with him. Sometimes he tries to do too much. Sometimes he passes a little too much and tries to create for others in a way that it's just relax a little, Andre. But there's a lot to his game that I do like. And we do have a report as far as the asking price for Andre Drummond is coming from Jake Fisher, that the Bulls have had dialogue with the Mavericks, Sixers, and Suns about Drummond, and that the cost is at least multiple second-round picks. Now, we just saw the Sixers deal 3 second-round picks in the deal to get Buddy Hield. But what should be more noteworthy there is they did not touch any of the 3 available first-round picks for trade. I do think it's a lot to give up a first-round pick for a guy like Andre Drummond, but when you're weighing the risk-reward, when you're looking at the price in today's marketplace, it is something that I can potentially look past based on the impact that I think he can bring to this Sixers team. Regardless, I think it's quite clear that the Sixers have their next steps planned, that they do have an idea that this current roster that I'm speaking right now at a little bit after noon is not complete, that there will be other guys added to this team, whether that be Kyle Lowry, potential Gordon Hayward, potential Andre Drummond, whatever that is, there's more moves that must be made, and that is a huge huge deal for this Sixers team. That I think we've been quite clear, myself and everyone else speaking about this team, that they have not been a finished product yet this year, and they've looked especially exposed since the Joel Embiid injury, and just seeing how much he was elevating the roster around him in a way that they may not necessarily be ready for. It's even been frustrating to watch moments like Tyrese Maxey hitting the wall a little bit and not quite being capable of stepping up and being a number one option on a night-to-night basis. I don't want to be too hard on the guy because he's still 23 years old, has blown past every bit of expectations at this point, and frankly is still a far better basketball player at this point in career than anyone could have guessed. But I still got to call a spade and say I don't feel fully comfortable thinking he can carry this roster on an every night basis. So bringing in help, bringing in guys that can help with that is a big deal for this team. And the focus for the Sixers, once again, they have to walk this two-way dance, that you have to find a way to remain afloat, tread water, and keep in the playoff conversation while Joel Embiid is recovering from his injury. And number two, you have to be a championship contending team around the big man when he does return. So Andre Drummond would not be a guy that quite fits that bill to me, that come playoff time, I don't see him making much of an impact, but he would be an awesome innings eater right now to help elevate this team. And we talk about guys like Kyle Lowry, maybe there is that signature moment in the playoffs where there's that one series or one stretch of plays which he turns the game, maybe taking a charge down one end, hitting a three down the other where the entire momentum of the game flips. He does do those types of things pretty well, so I'm not against that. But the bottom line is, Daryl Morey, you should not be putting down your cell phone until the clock strikes midnight or 3 o'clock, I guess Eastern time it is, on the trade deadline. I did want to lay out for full transparency here. Myself, I got to run off to Fox Sports The Gambler to work at the radio station during that time period that I got to start at 2 there. So I will miss the final push for the trade deadline, which is why I wanted to get this video out. Assuming that they do make a move and there is some content to rip out, I will have another video dropping tonight speaking on what specifically my reaction is to all this. But I did want to lay this out here as far as I do think it's crystal clear that the Sixers are laying the groundwork. That I don't think that they would go to the moves to create this type of financial flexibility if there were not plans in the future. They would not just give away Danuel House for the sake of a little cap relief and getting under the salary or the tax there if it was not more plans coming. I do believe this is a team that intends on competing for a championship. I still think there is work to do, especially when you look around the league with teams like the New York Knicks absolutely dominating today. Them bringing in Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, a couple other moves that they have made to improve their team, which already looks quite scary. So the Sixers have to get going. There is work to do, and I am excited that all signs are pointing toward that being the case. I am curious to see what the final moves are. Once again, I am in favor of an Andre Drummond reunion. I have kind of shifted my mindset on that. I still would love to add in some sort of variation of a point guard. If you want to go big and swing for a Malcolm Brogdon, that would be at the top of my list. And by the way, DeJounte Murray has not moved yet either. So if you really want to swing for the fences, even if signs are pointing toward him staying in Atlanta, I would love for that to be the case. I do think the Sixers team is close enough to go for it and contend for a championship right now, but you got to make it happen. So whether they go for that big swing, whether they are digging between the margins, whether it's a Tyus Jones or an Andre Drummond, I do think all signs are pointing to these Sixers are not done yet. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I want to hear who those missing pieces you think are, and sound off in the comments if they did not get the job done. If this is all for nothing, if this is just to duck the tax on another year, that is very frustrating from a standpoint. That I don't care what Josh Harris's pockets look like. Pay the extra tax, make this team a championship contender, and that's what the mindset should be inside there. So I do hope that is the case. I do have confidence that there are more players being in, and essentially if you even want to look at this as a Danuel House trade in exchange for Kyle Lowry or Andre Drummond, I'm perfectly fine slanting it in that line. So feel free to look at it like that if that makes your mind easier. I understand burning the draft picks is a little bit frustrating. I love having these second-round picks myself, but you do need that type of ammunition to make processes like this even possible. So we will see how the rest of the trade deadline writes itself. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. Make sure you're dropping a like, drop your comments, let me know your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be talking with you later today. Peace.